Okay, so I have my camera and computer in a little different setup, and I plugged it in this time, so I won't crash on you guys. So bear with me. I'm gonna take this, hopefully this works better. So I'm gonna use my ironing board as a table to show you guys what to do. So go ahead and take one of your pieces. So these are two sides to the pants. You have one side for the right side and one side for the left side. So I'm going to take one of my pieces and you've got the side seam with the pocket, which is right here. And then then you have the waist. The waist is up here. And then this J shape here is your crotch. So, and then below the crotch is your inseam. And that little short piece, we're going to pin right sides together. And then we're going to sew it a 1/2 inch seam allowance. And then you're going to press the seams open and then finish them with the pinking shears. So again, I always like to pin my corners first. That way, if there's any ease, I keep the ease, I don't push it out. There shouldn't really be any ease on this inseam, but I like to always start with my corners, that's my habit.
Does it matter if you do the back first or the front first?
The back or the front first? Sorry.
Yeah. Does it make a difference which one you do first?
Which leg? Pant leg?
Like are you oh, we're doing it on one pant leg. We're not doing it together.
Yeah, no, you don't have your pant legs put together yet. You have
okay.
two separate pant legs. My other pant legs over here, sitting over here. So the first thing we have to do is sew this inseam together. Then we can put the two pieces together. If you don't have the inseam sewn up, you can't do the crotch.
So mine has about a 1/4 inch difference, probably because of the way I cut it. I should just try to ease it in, right, when I sew?
You could try to ease in a little bit, like 1/8 of an inch. Like, see, I have a little teeny bit of ease right here, a little bubble right there. I'm just gonna put an extra pin. If it ends up sliding out when you're sewing it, you can just cut it off.
Okay.
It's not.
So you don't recommend cutting it off now or anything?
No, I mean, I would try to ease it in if it's only like a 1/4 inch. You can, I have a little bubbling there. I just try to ease it in. Okay. If it's an inch or something or a 1/2 inch, then something might be wrong, and you maybe should just cut it off.
And if I want to cut it off, I should probably cut it off towards the hem part, not the curve part, right?
Yes, yeah, but I would sew it first. All right. That's what I do.
Okay, thank you.
So see how I have that pinned? Is that clear? This is the J is my inseam. This is my, the J is my crotch. This is my inseam. I have 2 inseams, one on this leg, one on the other leg. The other leg I haven't sewn, hasn't been done yet, okay? I have 2 separate pieces. So I'm gonna go to the sewing machine. And once you guys learn how to sew these PJ shorts, it's the same process for any sort of pants that you make. So if you want to make, copy a pair of pants from your wardrobe that you like, just sort of trace them on a piece of paper and cut them out of fabric. You use the same process, side seams, inseam, and then you do the crotch.
Amy.
Yes.
Is that the back for the parallel or something, is the back part should be bigger, like a 1 or 2 inches, or the same?
You'll have to show me, kind of hold it up. What do you mean? The back
Oh, okay, I will show you later. You go ahead, I will show you.
on the hem or on the waist? Is it longer on the hem or is it?
No, not on the hem. It's on the back part should like 1 inches bigger than the front is 1 inch shorter. Is that? I
I'll
will
need
show
you to
you.
hold it up for me because I can't really tell.
Oh, okay. You keep going and I will bring and show you. Okay.
Okay. So after I sew my seam, I finished that seam. Before I iron it, I'm just gonna pink it now. Because once I iron it open, it's harder to pink it with the two seams together. So, you know, as you're sewing project by project, you'll figure out what's the best way to do things depending on your fabric. Sometimes things change. I think in our last class, I had you guys press everything open first, but it's easier to just pink it now with the seams closed like I'm doing. You might have already figured this out. And then after I press them open, I don't have to worry about pinking one side at a time, which takes longer. Now I go over to the ironing board. I'm using my little sleeve edge to get into that inseam like that. It comes in handy. You guys will just use the skinny end of your ironing board down here. And it's nice to have a good hot iron. Mine's not hot. Been sitting too long. So I just finished this inseam after I'm done ironing it. Now you're going to go to the other leg. So you have two of these legs, and you're going to sew the inseam on that piece. You're going to do the same thing. I already did mine so that I would be prepared for you guys. So I already did mine on the other leg. So now you're going to do the one on your other leg. Once that's finished, then you're going to have two of these legs. And then we're going to put them together. So I have two legs. One goes on one side of the body, and I have two. The other side of the body. Just like this. Now I'm going to put them together. So how many, Lindsay and Carol, are you guys sewing inseams right now?
Yeah, I'm on my second side inseam.
Yeah,
Okay.
same here.
Okay, Raj, this is a good time for you to show me your question, because I'll wait for them to catch up before I go to the next step. Are you there? Raj? Okay.
Okay. Amy, this
Yes.
is the, see like here. Hold on. The back part is like a crotch. This one is bigger. This one. This part.
So try to pull back from your camera so I can see, like, because I can't really tell. Hold up the waist like I'm holding the waist.
Okay.
Because all you're supposed to do right now, don't worry about, I don't want you guys to look at the pieces and like go, oh, this is too big. That's what Melissa was doing. She was thinking about it too much. You're just sewing the side seam together, the front and the back side seam. This piece right here, right, Raj?
Yeah.
So this seam here should be matching. When you put this piece together, the front to the back, is that the piece that's not matching?
No, it's matching, but in the other one, this part.
Are you
is
talking about the J part?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not supposed to match. Don't.
Okay.
You and Melissa, yeah, you're thinking too much, but that's good because you're supposed to think ahead. But that piece isn't supposed to match. You're not gonna sew these two pieces together.
Because I was sewing before and it doesn't match when I sew the different pants. And this one, I said, oh my God, something. Okay, now I understand.
Yeah,
okay.
That's a common mistake. People start putting their pants together and then they're looking at this J part, the crotch, and they're like, oh, it doesn't match. But we're not sewing these two pieces together. We're sewing this leg to this leg. So we're gonna sew this front seam to this front seam and this back seam to this back seam. And that's what I'm gonna show you guys how to do right now. So don't feel bad, Raj, that's a common mistake. Melissa did the same thing. Don't worry about it. Just the next step is to finish your inseam. So you should have two pieces like this. One leg looks like this. This is the waist that I'm holding, the crotch, the inseam, my side seam. And then I have another one. My other leg looks just like this. So after the inseams are done, you're gonna turn one of the legs inside out, like I turn my leg inside out. See? And then I'm gonna take the other leg, and this leg is right side out. And I'm gonna put my hand in it like this. So this is the inseam where I have my arm. And I'm just gonna slide, I'm gonna hold the other one like this. I'm gonna slide this one. So I'm holding it with that hole. The hole is open. I have my hand in here like this, and I'm sliding this one inside. So these two inseams are gonna match. So I'm gonna go up in tight here for you guys. So these two inseams, I'm gonna match up. So they're right on top of each other, right? We always match our seams. This is the inseam. I'm matching that and I'm gonna pin it.
Is that the waist part or the hem part that you're matching?
No, I'm not at the waist. I'm at the crotch. I'm right.
Oh, you're at the crotch.
Right here. I'm right here.
Okay.
That's
so
the-
one's inside out and one's not, and then you match the crotch.
Yes.
Okay.
So crotch. Does that make more sense if I say the crotch?
For me, it does.
Okay,
Turn on my
now this is
videos.
the crotch. This is that crotch seam. And the hem is down here. I'm holding the hem. And this is your crotch. And it goes, the crotch starts down here at your crotch at the bottom, and it goes all the way up to your waist. So you start at the crotch, you've got those two seams, you match them perfectly, and pin them together. And now you're going to start pinning that curve. So I start at the crotch seam and see what I'm doing. And I put in a pin next to it on each side. And I go to the other side because this is the curve, right? That J shape. And I like to start pinning here. So I have 3 pins. And I'm going to go to the other side now, and I'm going to pin one more time on this curve, matching my edges perfectly together. And I'm going to go to the other side, matching the edges together and pinning. Now I'm going to skip up to the top. So, okay, first you need to make sure, before you pin any further, that you have back matching back and front matching front. Okay, so I have my little back stickers pinned on mine. Hopefully you might have yours too. Here's my other sticker. So yes, this piece here and this piece here are both backs, and that's good. I'm pinning back to back. You can also check your notches. There's a notch here, right here on this crotch seam. There's a notch right here on your belly, and I can see it. It's a double notch. Remember, double notches mean back, so that's a good thing. So then you want to check and make sure you are pinning front to front. So if that side's back to back, this side needs to be front to front. So on this one, I can't see my notches, but I know that this is the back, so that's good enough. You don't want to pin front to back. You want to pin back to back, front to front. So after I've pinned about 4 pins here in this curve, then I go up to the waist, and I've made sure that I'm pinning back to back. And I match my corners up here at the waist. And I pin it. And then I just start pinning the rest of the way down here. And it should be matching up perfectly. You shouldn't have any excess. The 2 pieces should be matching very nicely.
For clarification, on the curve side, I pin all the way up to the notch, you said? Or
on the curve down here, I put in about 4 pins. So I start with the crotch, the seam, match those seams, and then I pin one side on each side of it, and then I pin again on each side. And then
Okay.
I go up to the top and pin the waist, and then I pin all the rest. But
oh, okay, got it.
before you finish pinning, make sure that you're pinning back, that these 2 pieces are both backs. Right? This piece and this piece should both be backs.
Okay,
Because the front is a different size than the back,
okay,
right? Your front panel, this front panel is smaller than the back panel because your butt is bigger.
yeah, I lost my label, but I think it looks right.
Well, if you lost your label, check for that double notch. Because I did put the notches on your pattern. So if you guys added the notches when you were cutting, then that's another way to double check.
Oh yeah, it's correct, thank you.
There you go. See it.
Well, because my first mistake when I did this before the class was I actually sewed the fronts together.
You sew the fronts together?
Yeah, so I had realized that I took it apart, but
Yeah, all that is totally normal stuff, typical mistakes that happen. I'm sorry. Part of the learning process. I do have some eaves here. I have like almost like a half inch, so I'm just kind of gonna push it around and try to make it fit in. You want to push the eaves down to the curve. It'll be easier to fit it in down there than at the top of the straight part where your waist is. Does anyone have any questions so far? So that's, I pinned that side. Now I'm going up to the other side and go up to the other side. And again, I match those corners together. This is my waist up here. I match the corners together and then I pin this other, so this isn't pinned yet, this whole piece. So I'm going to pin that together now. So after we're done pinning this piece, I call this the crotch because it's that seam that goes down the center of your body, down to your crotch and up the back. After we're done pinning that, then we'll sew it together with a 1/2 inch seam allowance. And you'll pink the edges and press it open. So there's a trick to pressing it open though. You always have to clip into the curve. So I'll show you how to do that. Otherwise you won't be able to press the seams open. But right now we're just pinning and sewing this seam up. If you guys take, I'm trying to teach the leggings class where you make a pattern from your leggings and then make a new pair of leggings. We'll be doing the same kind of process again with pants, doing the inseam and the crotch, front and back. Okay, so I finished pinning. So now if I push that leg into the other leg, I end up with this piece that looks like this. It should look like this. And then when you take it to the sewing machine, you always want to sew inside the circle, just like we with the sleeve. We took the summer top class. So I'm going to go up to the sewing machine and I'm going to sew on this side, the inside of the circle. So this is the outside of the circle out here. I'm going to sew with the inside face up. It's easier to sew that way. So I'm just laying it in my sewing machine and similar to the way you would sew a sleeve with the curve on the inside. 1/2 inch seam allowance. So after we're done sewing this crotch seam, then we're gonna do the waistband, then the hem, and then that's it. Then you're done. So I finished my crotch seam, and I'm going to show you how to clip into the seam allowance.
Can I have a few minutes? I'm almost done sewing this part.
Yeah. Oh, wait, does anyone have any questions? Well, I'm taking a little intermission. So if you took the summer top class, we did this on the armhole. I think we did it on the, might have done it on the neck too. So what you do is you lay the seam that you just finished sewing, the crotch, on your table. And you see this is that crotch point that I have laid out. You know the curve that we just sewed, that really sharp J. All you're gonna do is just clip into the seam allowance about a 1/4 inch, you know, just a little teeny clip. I lay it out flat like this. And you only need to clip the curve. So when I clip up a 1/2 inch apart, a little more than 1/2 inch, and I'm just snipping into the seam allowance. So you don't want to go all the way through the seam allowance, obviously. You just want to clip like halfway into it, and about every 3/4 of an inch apart. And I'm only clipping the curve, so the straight part doesn't need to be clipped. I'll do one more there. So this straight part up to your waist, I'm not going to clip that part, just the curve. So I finished clipping. Does everyone got that?
So we're not doing the triangle thing. It's just a clipped into it, right?
Oh yeah, no. We never do that. It's just a clip. So see,
Okay.
you can, I'm trying to pull it apart. See that? See how I did that? So you're just doing that. Don't do the whole thing, just the curvy part. And then after that, then we can do the pinking shears. And you're just pinking the edge of the fabric. I'm gonna kind of iron it a little so it's nice and flat. Just trimming off the edge of the seam allowance so it doesn't fray. See, my fabric is already fraying. gets a little tricky down here with the curve. So just make sure you don't cut your fabric. Only want to cut the seam allowance.
So is the clipping helps with this part where you're cutting, where you're pinking it?
No, the clipping helps when you iron it open.
Oh, okay. So I should clip it actually beyond wherever I pink, right? It should go past
I'm
that.
sorry, what was your question?
When I clip it, it's not really, I need to clip it past that point where I pink it. There should still be clips in there after I.
Actually, yeah, you're right. You should probably clip it after you pink it. Because I mean, I still have a little bit of my clip showing. Thanks for bringing that up. You guys should just pink it first and then clip, because I don't want you to have to like go back again and have to clip into it again. I think I'm gonna get away without having to clip it again because I made a deep enough clip. My pinking shears aren't affecting it too much. Okay, so I pinked it and clipped it, and I'm gonna go. I think my clips are okay, so I'm not gonna go back. I'm gonna show you. So now, when you press your seams open, you can actually get that seam to lay flat, because if you don't make those clips into the seam allowance, you won't be able to get it to lay flat. And you'll just lay your pajama shorts open through that narrow end of your ironing board. So you can get in. And I just like to iron one continuous. I pull everything right here. There's like 4 seams that are intersecting. So you lay that open, and there's some bubbling on each side. So you just kind of delicately get in there and press that open. Like this. Now I'm going to turn it around and do the other side. Okay, so all of that seam is finished. So now can open it up, and you have what looks like your pajama shorts. They're all put together, but you have this huge big old waistband that you need to gather up. So that's what we're going to do next. So after you've sewn that crotch, this is what you should have. your shorts. Once we get the waistband in, then it'll be gathered up like this. But these are your shorts. After the waistband, we'll do the hem. So I'm gonna get straight to the waistband. So the trickiest part about the waistband is just measuring your elastic and figuring out the length of it, how long you want your elastic to be. So I'm not very scientific about measuring my waistband. I just take it and I put it around my waist. Kind of where I want it to be. Put it around my waist where I want it to be, and then you want to pull it taut. If you make it too loose, you're not going to like it. So you do want it to feel kind of taut. So you're going to stretch the elastic a little bit. And I just have it over my jeans even, and I'm making it pretty tight, and I don't let it, make sure it's not twisting. So I think that feels pretty good. I go off of how it feels on me, how tight I like to wear it. You know, some people might like it looser, some people might like it tighter. So then I just grab it with my finger here and I add an inch. So this is where I had it on my waistband with my finger, and I eyeball an inch. You can measure it if you're not comfortable with eyeballing it. I add an inch, the inch is for seam allowance, and then I just cut it. Inch, cut it like that. You can keep that or throw it away if you don't think it's enough to use for something else. And now, so we're not going to sew it together yet. First, we have to thread it through the waist. So after you've done that, you can put it aside. And we're going to finish the edge of our waistband so that we can sew it down. So back to the working space. We're going to just paint the edge. Grab your painting sheet. Just take off the waistband edge. I'm gonna actually do a little, well, I think thinking it's good enough because we're gonna fold it over and sew it down.
I'm sorry, Amy, what are you doing now? You're cutting the waistband?
Yes, so, well, I'm just painting the edge of it. So we're preparing the waistband. That's the next step. Well, I cut my elastic first. So I wrapped it around my waist, figured out how long I wanted it to be, and I cut it to the length I wanted. And then I added it 1 inch for seam allowance. And then now I'm preparing the waistband. So we're painting the edge so that the edge is finished and it won't ravel. That's the first step. It won't unravel or fray. as much. Okay, so I finished pinking. And now we're gonna fold it over and iron it and pin it down. So I like to start on one of the side seams. So I found a side seam and I'm working with the right side laying on the table and the wrong side face up. I pinked the edge. Now I'm gonna fold it about 2 inches. So you want to take your ruler and measure. I'm doing like 2 3/4 of an inch of fold. And if you want to iron it, you can. Sorry, 1 3/4 of an inch fold. And then just pin it.
Does the fold matter what size you have? Is it?
No, everyone's gonna do 1 3/4 fold. What matters is the width of the elastic. So the elastic is 1 inch. So you want to make sure that the channel is big enough to hold the elastic.
Because my pattern says 1.5. I don't know, it's because it's kid size.
Yeah, I think I wrote on your pattern 1.5. So
So-
I'm doing like 1. I'm doing 1.5, 1 3/4. I'm just eyeballing it. I like to make sure there's enough room in there for that waist, that elastic. Because if it gets too tight, it's hard to get it through. So fold it over somewhere between 1.5, 1 3/4. And if you have a little tag that you want to put in the back, that's really helpful so you know which is front and which is back. If you don't have a tag, maybe just a piece of ribbon. Or you can make your own label with fabric. But it helps. I like having that a lot because then I know which is front and back. So I'm just pinning, as you can see, and folding about 1.5 inches, 1 3/4 over. Sometimes it's easier to fold the side seam, these seams first, and match them up, and then work your way down. We're gonna just pin all the way around, and then we're going to leave an opening. You need to leave about a 3-inch opening to put the elastic through. So I just go ahead and pin the whole thing, and then wherever I decide to have the opening, I just take a couple pins out. So Lindsay, I don't think we'll finish this waistband by the time you leave. We might, but, so the only part you're gonna miss is the hem. And we're just going to paint the edge and then turn it up a half inch. Pin it and sew it. So
Okay.
that's pretty easy.
Okay.
But right now, still working on the waistband. I'm just slowly going around pinning and measuring, making sure that it's about 1.5 inches, 1.75 inches all the way around.
When I fold the waistband over on a seam, I need to keep the things open, right?
Yes, yes. We want to keep the seams open, nice and flat. You always want to think about reducing bulk on your body. When you're sewing clothes, you never want to have bulkiness. Try not to, so that's why we keep those seams open. Okay, that's pretty good. I'm gonna add my label now to the center back. So I still have one of my labels on, so I know which is the back. That was easy for me to identify. And I'm just going to now I'm gonna leave my opening. I like to leave my opening on the side seam here. So I'll just grab a side seam and I'll take the pins out and I put my pins in vertically like that to kind of show me while I'm sewing to stop there so I don't forget. Sometimes I'll keep sewing and I'll forget. So I put my 2 pins going this direction to show me to leave this opening. So like I said, about 3 inches. Mine's 4 inches. I like to have a nice big opening. 3 or 4 is good. So now I'm just going to take it to the sewing machine. I'm going to sew right. Show you that first. I'm going to sew right here on the edge of the fabric next to where I pinked. Probably like a 1/4 inch from the edge of the fabric. Right along this edge. And I'm going to have this side facing up so I can see the edge. I'm not going to sew it from that side. I'm going to sew it from this side. So I start on one side of my opening. So this is one side of my opening. I'm going to start there. And I'm only going to sew about a 1/4 inch from that pinked edge. I'm going to back stitch like we always do. And I'm sewing all the way around. Don't sew more than 1/4 inch, you know, 1/8 of an inch, 1/4 of an inch, because remember, you need to have enough room in that channel for your elastic. Your elastic is 1 inch wide. So always be thinking about that. So I finished sewing around and I left the waist and I left my opening for the elastic. So my little seam here is coming apart. So I'm just gonna fix it before I move on. And my bobbin is out of thread, so I'm going to add some thread to my bobbin. So sorry, you guys, we're gonna take a little break.
How big of an opening did you say we should allow for the elastic to go in?
I do about 3 or 4 inches.
Okay.
I'm sorry, Amy, I have to head off now, but so I finished doing the waistband. I just thread the elastic in, close it up. I'm sorry, thread the elastic in, sew the elastic together, close up the rest of the top, and then the bottom, I pink before I turn, or I turn then pink.
Pink it. For the hem, you're gonna pink it, and then you're gonna fold it up, iron it, pin it, sew it.
Okay, 1/4 inch, is that what you said?
Yeah, or you could
Okay.
do a 1/2 inch. It's up to you.
Okay, just figure out. I'm sure it's
Yeah, with the elastic though, when you feed it through with a safety pin, right? You know that? So you're gonna feed it through with the safety pin, and then you're going to sew the two ends of the elastic together.
Right, 1/2 inch and 1/2 inch, right?
Yeah, yeah, and then sew up the opening. Yep, okay.
Okay. Awesome, thank you so much. I'll send a picture when it's done, because I think I'm actually gonna finish it again. Thanks,
Great.
Amy.
Have a
Bye.
great day. Bye. So I'm just finishing my little seam that popped open. I guess I didn't sew it together very well. So go back and do that. Okay, so now I am ready to thread my elastic through. So I'm just gonna grab a glass of water, or drink of water, and my elastic. So to thread your elastic through the waistband, you need to grab a safety pin. I think some of you have probably done this before. You just put the safety pin through your elastic like that. Actually, I'm gonna just iron my waistband first, a quick iron, just to make sure it's nice and flat. Everything's sewn, all the seams are open. Okay, so I've got it ironed. So now I'm just taking my elastic and I'm going to put it through the opening. And I'm gonna squish it through with the elastic. I mean, with the safety pin, you're just feeling that safety pin and pulling it through. So the tricky part is you got to keep the elastic straight. You don't want it to twist. You want to keep it flat. And you don't want to lose the elastic in your waistband. So I will oftentimes take this other end and pin it to the pajamas, because sometimes if you get absorbed in pushing the elastic through, you're not paying attention and it gets lost. The other end gets lost. So that's another tip. You want to keep it flat and you don't want to lose that end. So I'm going to actually pin it once I get a little further, so I know I don't lose it. And there's just one more step. That's doing the hem. And then
Amy,
you're done. Yes.
I have to go, but I
Okay.
want to show you, I made this one.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, but I have to do the border, but okay?
It looks good. I like
Yeah,
the colors.
thank you. Thank you
You're
for the
welcome.
class.
Have a good
Okay.
day.
You too. Okay, bye.
Bye. So to keep the other end of the elastic from getting lost in the shorts, I take another safety pin and I'm just going to attach it to the waistband. It's happened to me so many times. So we're almost done, yay. It takes a bit of time to do the waistband. It's not instantaneous. But once you're done with the waistband, the hem goes super fast. Pink it and then fold it up. I'm gonna do mine a 1/2 inch. You can do a 1/4 inch. It just depends on if you want your shorts to be shorter, longer. I like a 1/2 inch hem. It's just easy to work with. So I got all the way through to the end here. And now I'm just trying to make sure that the elastic doesn't twist. So once I've gone through the whole entire waistband, I'm going to actually attach with my safety pin the 2 pieces of elastic together so I can straighten out the elastic because I have all this extra elastic here and I want to straighten it out, distribute it among the whole waist. So now you can actually make adjustments to the waistband. I recommend trying them on. I'm looking at mine and I think my waistband's too big. So I totally recommend trying them on at this point, and you can always cut the elastic down to make them smaller. Unfortunately, you can't make it bigger, but you could make it smaller. So this is a good point to check. I mean, if you wanted to add more elastic, then you could probably like sew a piece of elastic on if you were that crazy about making it work. I'm gonna actually go slip mine on real quick and see if they fit. So I'm just going to turn my camera off. Can't do that. I'm going to turn my camera around. I'm going to slip them on and make sure they fit. So I definitely want to take my elastic in. And what I'm going to do is just cut, I'm going to just cut a little bit off. And while I had them on, I was also checking the hem. So when you're sewing, if you're making these for yourself or someone, I totally recommend stopping here and there, trying them on so that you can make adjustments. I always do that. So I'm just going to cut an inch off my elastic. So they fit a little tighter. I'm also going to pink the edges because I noticed it's fraying a lot as well. I had the pinking shears right there. And anyway, I checked the hem and I'm also going to hem them an inch, not a half inch. So you're the designer, you can make those decisions. A hem is anywhere from a 1/4 inch to an inch. So I just pinned my elastic together like this. And now I'm going to stitch right here. So 1/2 inch seam allowance. Make sure that, again, your elastic's flat, it's not twisted. So I'm going to do a little 1/2 inch seam allowance here. I think I might even do a little bigger seam allowance because I know that it was kind of loose on me. I'm the designer, so I can play with it that way.
If it's too long, can we just kind of cut it shorter before we hem it?
Sorry?
If it's a lot, like too long or way too long, is it better just to cut off the hem before hemming it? I mean, cutting it off shorter?
Yes, yes. Yeah, so I finished sewing that elastic waistband together, and then, so this is something I do. So you've sewn it together and it's like that. Now I open it up because you want it to lay flat. You don't want it to be, rubbing you on your back, right? That would be really uncomfortable. So I open it up like this. And I open it nice and flat, and then I sew those seam edges down on the sewing machine. I just do like a zigzag back and forth like that, so that the elastic stays flat and it doesn't rub on your back or anything. Yeah, I'm almost done with the waistband. Carol, I made everyone's shorts a bit longer because I didn't want the crotch to be too short. So you can easily cut it off. Cut off a couple inches if you want to make them shorter, but you can't, it just depends how close you want it to be to the crotch. I think you probably need like an inch on that inseam. All right, back to the waistband. So I finished sewing that down just like that. And now I'm going to close up my opening. So I just lay everything flat like this. Where's my opening? My opening's right here. I'm going to lay it down and just sew it closed. Make sure that it's, an 1.5 inches, 1.75 inches, just like the rest of the waistband. Something's wrong with my bobbin. Oh, thread got caught. All right, I had a little technical difficulty. So I'm gonna have to stop and fix it. So if you're sewing with me and you're finished with your waistband, then you can go ahead and try them on, figure out your hem. If you want to cut them down, if they're quite a bit too long, then now would be the time to cut off a couple inches. And then if you want to do, so if you're using slippery fabric like me, the shorter hem is better, a 1/4 inch hem. If you're using like cottony, regular cotton shirting fabric, you can do a 1/2 inch hem or a 1 inch hem. Okay, now I can go back and finish this. Sorry. Okay, so I finished sewing that waistband down, the opening. And I'm just gonna go give it a little press to make sure that it's nice and flat. And now we're going to work on the hem. Oh, you know what? I hope my elastic isn't twisted. Well, I did what I told you guys not to do. Somehow my elastic got twisted. I got distracted, I guess. But I'll fix that later. So it's twisted in the waistband. And I'm gonna have to re-sew it together. Yeah. So I sewed the wrong ends together and I ended up with a twisted waistband right here. You don't want to do that. Now I have to go back, open it up, take it apart, and redo it. Okay, so for the hem, does anyone have any questions so far?
I'm good so far. I want to measure my daughter before I, completely close off the elastic part.
Is she there?
Yeah, but she's played Minecraft with her friends.
Oh, okay.
Like, okay. But yeah, I can move on to the hem,
Okay, so for the hem, I'm gonna paint it first. It's a little bit tricky because it's not flat. So if you go and make another pair of these, you could paint the hem edge before you sew it together, You don't have to sew it like this. Paint it when it's on a curve.
Do you have any tips on pinking straight? Because that's when I get all crooked.
Not really. I mean, I have this silky fabric and, well, of course, you should always be on the table like I am. See how I'm on the table?
Right, yeah.
Always have your scissors on the table. That's about the only tip that I know of. I have slippery fabric, so it's really hard to keep it straight. But, you'll get better at it as you do it. The
Yeah, I
more-
notice I'll try to pink it straight, but then, by the time I sew the hem on, it's like, oh, I was pretty crooked there.
I know. So you'll get better at it the more you do it, but just staying on the table is the biggest tip that I know of. When I try to take long cuts, nice long cuts. So I lay the fabric out as flat as I can, as far as I can.
I guess all of this is so much easier with the serger because you're just kind of sewing and cutting it off at the same time.
Yeah, I keep, trying holding my tongue because I don't want to keep saying that. So much better on the serger, but might as well just be grateful with what we have.
Yeah, exactly.
So we'll just paint for now. And hopefully your seams, won't fray a lot after you wash. I usually actually like to start when I'm starting to paint, Carol, I like to start on the seam right here. Seam. I have a little seam. And I start there. And then I try to make these long cuts like that. And I lay the fabric out nice and flat. I make long cuts. That's my advice. Okay, so after that's done, then just take your iron and press it up. I said I wanted to do an inch, so I'm gonna try doing an inch. I want them a little bit shorter, so see how it goes. I don't normally do a 1-inch hem. Maybe on like jeans, I'll do a 1-inch hem. So I'm pressing it first and then I'm gonna go back and pin it. I recommend always pinning. Don't skip that. If you're, obviously, if you're using slippery fabric like this, you definitely need to pin. With the cotton fabric, probably not so much. So we have about 20 minutes left, so I think we'll finish. Yay. Get this finished. Does anyone have questions like Colleen or Melissa? I know you guys were finishing your other leg. I don't know if you started sewing your inseam yet or crotch. If you have any questions, let me know. So I'm gonna sew my hem now. Okay, so I finished the hem on the one side and I'll show it to you. I'm gonna go iron it right now. But I kind of like the 1-inch hem. It's like a little more luxurious feeling, more pajama panty feeling. So now I'm gonna go do the other side since we still have about 15 minutes left. I'm just gonna keep working on the other side and then when class is over, I'm gonna fix my waistband so I can wear them. But I think they're turning out pretty well. Okay, that's nice. I'm gonna go ahead and fold up and do the other side. I'm gonna go close my door really quick because it's getting kind of hot in here. So I'm gonna do the same thing on the other leg. Doing a 1-inch hem. It's like you can see me, but I think you guys understand how to fold up on my. Going to pin. that looks good. To give it a little press before I sew it. All right, my sewing machine's acting a little bit funny. So I don't know if I'm going to be able to finish right now. Give it one more try. So I'm having a little bit of a technical difficulty with my sewing machine, but class is almost done, and you guys, I think I've shown you all the steps to finish, and I just wanted to ask if anyone has any more questions. We have a few minutes left. Does anyone want to show me where they are on their shorts so I can give them feedback? Oh, Carol, nice. Yay.
I just need to do the hem.
You did the hem?
Not yet,
Not yet.
but I did the waistband.
It looks good.
So I just need to seal that and then hem and then,
Did she try them on?
yeah,
Oh, cool.
yeah. But I sew this part, but then I kind of want her to try it on one more time. Cause you know how when you pin it, sometimes it moves a little bit.
Yeah.
So
You're gonna have her try it again?
yeah, before I completely close it.
Yeah. Does she like them?
I don't know. It was kind of like meh.
Oh, aw.
Well, I've gotten into the habit of using like old, like if I have bed sheets that we don't use anymore
Yeah.
as practice fabric, you know, and these are like really soft too.
Those are nice. I like that. They're striped. They're like white and black striped.
They're brown.
Brown. I like them. They're
Kind of like
cool.
a tan-ish, not like an off-white color.
I've seen people use sheets all the time for stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it's works great.
I saw a girl make a beautiful dress out of a sheet from Target.
Oh, wow. Well,
Um,
sometimes they're cheaper, you know, if you buy sheets or if you buy just fabric that way. You know, it's
Yeah.
huge.
yeah, they look good. I buy curtains to curtains at like World Market and stuff to make pillow covers
Oh, that's a good idea.
because they're that nice
idea.
big fabric. Sometimes they have like pom poms on them and stuff,
Mm-hmm.
textures. But yeah, good job. Melissa, Pauline, do you guys want to show me what you have? You guys are working away. I'm bummed I have to fix my waistband. Can't believe I twisted it.
But these do look like they run a little big too.
I gave you the kid size too.
Yeah.
Wait, hold them up again. Well, they're smaller than mine. I have these. They look smaller than what I have.
Okay.
These
So
are
yours is a medium, right?
yeah, these are medium. But they're supposed to be really baggy.
Yeah.
Well, when they're short, when they're hemmed, she might like them better.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a little big on my 9-year-old and a little fitted on my 12-year-old.
Oh, okay. Who are you making them for?
My 9-year-old.
Oh, the 9-year-old.
Yeah. Because my 12-year-old probably could do like a small adult size.
So do they fit your 12-year-old? They're a little tight, you said?
They're tight, like on the hips area. I mean, she can probably get away with it, but it's a little fitted. And this material, there's no stretch to it at all.
Right. Right. Well, the 9-year-old will grow into them.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I mean, she can wear them because the elastic, I made it to her waist.
Right.
But it doesn't lay quite right here. You know how like it lays down, even if it's loose, it doesn't quite lay right.
On her?
But I think once I hem it, it might be okay.
Does she like the pockets? Did she put her hands in the pockets?
She did, but the pockets are a little off because it's baggy. So it's kind of like to the side, if that makes sense. Like it's almost to the back. So when she wears it, it tends to be like this. The pockets kind of flip towards the back.
Oh. Well, did you put they should be,
On the side.
yeah, is that just because, that's weird.
I just think it's just baggy.
Okay.
The way it's laying. Because my 12-year-old, when she wears it, it's fitted, so it lays perfect on the side of her, like on the side of her hips.
Well, you have to push the pocket bags to the front, but you're saying on the younger daughter, they're more towards the back.
Yeah, because
That's because the side seam is more on the back.
Yeah. So exactly.
Are
But
you,
it looks great. So far, I'm happy.
are you sure she's putting on the front? Is
I
she
don't know.
gonna-
It was a quick fit, so
They're
I'll
probably-
double
they
check
might-
it later.
They might be on backwards, so.
Well, I wasn't very good about like marking it, but I'm kind of looking at it. I'm like, this looks like the front to me, the way the crotch lands.
Yeah, that's
Like,
right.
this looks like the back to me because there's more gathering.
Yeah, I think you're right.
So I try to put the opening in the back because then I can tell where the back is.
Well, good
But it
job.
came out really nice. I went farther than I usually do in these classes.
They're done. They're almost done.
Yep.
Melissa, how are you doing? Oh, I can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, so I went back to try to do the other one to start off where I left off. But then I realized, so I have the pocket, but then